Pancetta is actually not smoked, it's cured, very much like prosciutto. The thing about making good pancetta or making good anything is the product. You have to start with good ingredients. If you start with good ingredients, you'll end up with a good product. So we buy Canadian pork bellies. They're called rib bellies. The reason being that in Canada, they have larger areas to grow these pigs. They have fewer less laws, so that they can get bigger, and that gives you a bigger belly, gives you a nice fat piece of belly, which is basically 4 layers. You have skin, followed by yellow fat, followed by nice tender meat, and then you have something called brown fat, which is closer to the innards, and then another layer of yellow fat. That's just the way it works. We cut the ribs out, so it comes in a whole, looks like a whole, basically the whole loin section of a pig, minus the legs and the head, that whole little saddle they call it. We cut the ribs out, you gotta butcher them out. We save those, make baby back ribs out of those. This is a fresh product, never frozen. We then take a meat tenderizer, which looks like a huge fork, right? And it has a little compression thing on it, and you push, and the needles puncture the skin. And that's to be able to penetrate the skin. We salt it then with only Italian sea salt. The best sea salt comes from Trapani, Italy and Sicily. If I can't get Sicilian sea salt, I'll use kosher salt. You salt them down, literally salt them down to the point where we use, for every pound of meat, we use 3 pounds of salt. So one belly, which when we cure about 30 bellies at a time. One belly is about 15 pounds. So you're looking at 45 pounds of salt for one belly. So to do 30 of them, you can imagine, it's sacks and sacks of salt. We salt them down, we put them in a bin, and we put them at 50 degrees, just above, just below, too warm to rot, but just above 40 where it's too cold and creates moisture. We have a special case where we age our meats and keep the relative humidity at around 50%, keep it at around 50 degrees, and we let the curing process begin. It's about 1 day of curing for every 2 pounds of meat. So each loin takes about 7 days. After that, we remove them from the salt. We wash them down with a mixture of 50-50 of vinegar and water, which the acidity slightly discolors the meat, gives it that nice pink, but also flavors it a little bit. Acid wakes up the flavor on anything. The best example of that is a salad. You put salt and oil on it, tastes good. Squeeze a little lemon or put a little vinegar, tastes great. So the vinegar, the acid, really wakes up your tongue. After we've given it a wash with the water and the vinegar, we then season it with black pepper, bay leaf, lemon zest, and some rosemary. We let the seasoning stay on the meat for about a week, still at 50 degrees with 50% relative humidity. We then remove the meat from the fridge, take all of the herbs and spices off of it, and hang it. We hang it in another room, and we keep it around 45 degrees with 30% humidity. We want to dry the meat out. That's the process of drying. So after that drying process takes about 10 or 15 days, depending on the thickness of the meat. After that, it's ready to be cut, eaten, cooked, cryovac, and to make videos about it.
Good. Very informative.
That's the whole process, yeah.